What's up, Tokos? It's Trent, aka TradeMark here, and I've had a rough week. Have you guys ever realized that you don't you don't recognize like how nice it is to just be healthy until you're not healthy? Our family has had a rough week this week. My kids got sick. I got sick. Ear infections, sinus infections, eye infections, all the infections. We're infected in this household. And this has been a not fun week. An update just came out though. It's been such a not fun week that I'm not even gonna put the webcam on today. It's that bad. It's that bad, guys. Zombie zombie trademark has taken over this channel. I did want to do a quick video though about these two new cards. Actually, just kind of about the update that they just posted. There's two new cards there, and if you guys haven't already used them, the Y-wings it's the Rebels version of the TIE bomber basically, and then the Riot Control Stormtrooper is basically the Empire's version of the Tal's Marauders. And if you guys have been playing this game for a long time, you'll notice that pretty much on every faction there is a very comparable unit to each other, almost identical. You know, you have Stormtroopers and Rebel Troopers, you have, Sand Trooper and Rebel Grenadier, you have all these units that serve very similar purposes on both factions. And I actually don't mind that. I think that having factions, basically allowing the factions to have very similar card setups, is a good thing. It's a good and a bad thing. And here's the thing. Diversity between factions is good because it makes the game unique. It gives you a reason to play each faction, right? But if you have too much diversity, what happens is if the game's not balanced, then you end up with the majority of the players playing a certain faction. And that's really bad for the game because when you have the majority of the player base playing a certain faction, the queue times get a lot longer for that faction, and also the matchmaking gets a lot worse because it has to pair up players of a bigger rating difference against each other. And so personally, I actually would like this game to unlock the faction versus faction metagame. And I haven't heard too many arguments for or against this, so maybe I'm not thinking things through entirely. But I would like to be able to play Rebel versus Rebel or Empire versus Empire leader. I would rather just any player could play any other player because it would do two things to the game. One, when the game's not balanced, you don't have to worry about not being able to play whatever faction that you want. You can play whatever you want at any time, and when the game's not balanced, you don't have to, you don't have to worry about factions. If you have a mission, you can play, Rebels or whatever, or Empire. But for the most part, if you're just playing to just play, you can play whatever you want. And two, if you allow any player to match up against any player, it speeds up the matchmaking and it makes the matches more fair because basically they can just find the player that's closest to you in rating, and it doesn't matter if that player is playing Empire or Rebel. They can get matched against you. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are about that. I've heard a few different suggestions that are similar to that, such as like allowing like in 2v2s, only allowing it in 2v2s so you could play whatever factions, match up against whatever factions, keep the meta, or keep the faction versus faction in 1v1. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that, because in most of the similar type games like Clash Royale, in most of these, I know there's not, Clash Royale is probably the only one that really comes to mind that has this exact model here, that you have this, this strategy tower game. But with this, you also have this MOBA element with your leader. And in this game, I feel like if you did that, like Clash Royale, anyone can get matched up against anyone. Anyone can copy each other's decks. And because of that, you're just, the games are a lot easier to find, and typically there's a lot closer of a rating to it. Now, Clash Royale has a much larger player base, so hopefully this game will grow as well, and there will be a larger player base. Most of the problems with matchmaking would be solved if Force Arena had the same size player base as Clash Royale. I'm almost positive of it, and they could do the faction versus faction. But as long as the player base remains relatively small, because it doesn't seem like Netmarble's doing too much marketing for this game, and as long as it remains small, I kind of would like to see a faction unlock mode. The other thing that I would like to see is separate leaderboards for 1v1 and 2v2, but that's another discussion altogether. And so let me know what you guys think about that and thoughts in below. But basically all I was saying is these cards are not anything new. They're almost identical versions to their counterparts on the other faction. And they're just kind of filling in some gaps there. Like the right control stormtroopers are like Tal's Marauders. One nice thing about them is a lot of people complain about Luke's deflection. Now, the right control aren't going to allow Luke to deflect, because they're going to run right up to him. And when they get in range of him, he will automatically start attacking them, and that breaks his deflection. So it's a good unit versus like a Luke. Stats wise, I'm not sure that it's that they're that great. I believe they'll have, when they're leveled up, they'll have about a very similar DPS as Stormtroopers, but they'll have like twice the health pool, I want to say. Maybe not exactly twice, but quite a bit more health per unit. So the idea is that hopefully they'll be able to survive like a grenade or something like that. They'll survive some smaller poke damage that the Stormtroopers will not. Next thing, the only card balance that they changed is the Engineer and the Treadwell Droid. I hate this meta right now, guys. I hate the repair meta. And honestly, I don't think that this does much of anything. The only thing that this does, to be honest, is that the Aqualish Engineer, dropping the health, will allow an equal level Dioxis grenade to now kill that Engineer. So I think that's good, because the main problem with these units, and I said this kind of all along, is the main problem with these units, there's two primary problems. But the main problem is that you cannot make a positive energy trade for these cards. Except for now you can. Now you can with equal level Dioxis, but previously you could not. You give me any card in the game, and I can basically tell you a way that you can destroy it, you can kill it with less energy than the enemy. It costs the enemy to play it. Okay, any card in the game, I can pretty much tell you there's going to be a counter to that card or a strategy to that card that you can kill it for less energy than they played it for. And that's a positive energy trade. It gives you an energy advantage. But Engineer and Treadwell Droid, the problem is that most of the long-range AoE spells cost 3 or 4 energy to play, and both of these cards cost 3 energy to play as well. So at best, you're just trading energy and maybe getting a little bit of damage on the turret. But at worst, you're caught at a time when you don't have an AoE card in rotation. And it's really changed up my playstyle. It's basically forced me to learn to just keep an AoE card on the hand at all times, so that the second that they play an Engineer or Treadwell Droid, I have to just trade out that energy. They lay 3 energy, I trade 3 energy. But the thing is, that's not technically a good play. I mean, it's the play that you have to make, because you can't just sit there and let their Engineer or Droid repair until your next counter push, when you're going to be up at the turret. They're going to repair the entire health. So you have to make that energy trade. And in my opinion, they should bump the health back up, and they should also bump the repair rate back up to what it was when they first released them, and just make the units cost 4 energy. That's it. That's all they'd have to do, and make them 4 energy, because then anytime that you played a 4 energy support card, you'd trade, but anytime you played a 3 energy support card, you'd get an energy advantage for playing that. I think that would be a decent way to balance this card out. And it might just be me hating on the repair meta. I despise the repair meta. I feel like this game, at high level play, this game, there's already very few mistakes that are made in a game. And you can, for the most part, you can just cover your tracks with those mistakes by using Engineer or Droid. Okay? Pretty much in high level play, you have to go for a kill and 100 to 0 a turret. Because if you don't 100 to 0 a turret, they're pretty much going to repair it. And so it's really a meta that I don't like. And I haven't noticed a difference. I've been playing a little bit today and a little bit yesterday after the update came out, and I haven't noticed a difference with the lower health. The only thing that I've noticed a difference, like I said, is if you're on Empire, you can play a Dioxis Grenade, and it will almost always kill an Engineer as long as your card's the same level as the Engineer. So Empire is the only faction that can actually make a positive energy trade now on these two cards. And I just feel like these cards never should have come into the game. I don't like them. They slowed the pacing down of the game. They made the game so much more about like just waiting. Like there's so many more draws, and there's so many more games that just go to overtime, and then like people search for a kill and then try and 100-0 a turret, and the game ends 1-0. Like it just, there were so many. I can remember so many games in soft launch and at the beginning of this game when it was launched, where there were exciting moments where like I knew that the enemy could take the turret at any time, so then I'd have to push. I would have one turret down, so then I'd push for a second turret while they were taking my first turret, and it would come down to like racing, or like base races. It's just I just feel like there was so much more excitement and fun moments in the game when the repair units weren't in them. So I don't know if anyone on Netmarble ever watches my videos. If you do, I highly suggest you reconsider these units. They're boring units that overwrite people's mistakes that used to lead to exciting moments, and now they don't. So, anyways, the main reason why I made this video, aside from ranting and being sick and just not having and explaining why I hadn't posted a video for a while, is to let you guys know that I am actually feeling better. And I'm hoping I feel quite a bit better this weekend so that I can take some time to work on some guides on my website. I actually want to work on some guides because there's been a few things like my leader tier list that I've been meaning to put out for a long time, and they're almost done. I just have to do a few tweaks on them. So I think I'm going to focus mostly on some guides and some stuff on my site this weekend, and maybe I'll have some corresponding videos to those. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the most recent update. Also, something cool that's going to be coming up, there's going to be a little community 1v1 tournament, a friendly tournament, in a week from Sunday, I believe. And I've been practicing for that with guildmates, and it is so much fun to play friendlies, because if you guys don't know, in friendlies, your card levels are equalized. And so it's been a lot of fun for me to play against some of the best players in the game with equal card levels, because you just draw out that true skill, like who's the more skilled player in a certain matchup. It's been a lot of fun. It's been interesting to me because there's a lot of decks that like you wouldn't think. I feel like they're decks that only work when cards are equalized, and I feel like they're decks that only work when you have players of a very high skill level. Like decks I wouldn't have thought about traditionally, because that's the other thing that I'm noticing is like I literally will go 1v1 in solo queue, and sometimes I'll win like 20, 30 games in a row without a single loss, and I'll play like a lot of them. I'll just make a ton of mistakes and play really dumb, but like playing that way against a really skilled player just instantly loses you the game. So it's been good, and I'm hoping that I can really develop some of my high-level 1v1 gameplay. Maybe we'll even do a 2v2 tournament sometime, but keep an eye out for that. We're hoping that we can get it streamed, and you guys can watch some of it, and we'll record a lot of it, and we'll have a website that has like the ladder and everything on that tournament. So I'm excited for it. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. I hope that you are all feeling wonderful and much better than I am, and I wish you guys the best. Malo, aupito. Thanks for watching. Peace. I'm out of here.